How does one get to a radical movement? One gets to a radical movement, A, through reading, B, through somebody who introduces you to the subject, and C, through your own personal experiences. The experiences with anti-Semitism had been such for me. Just let me tell you, the first job I went to was a job in the papers. It was a rhinestone place where they put rhinestones in and bent the metal so the rhinestone would hold. I got a job later in such a place, that's why I know about it. But I walked into this place and the man looks up and he says, "What's your name?" I said, Mo Fishman. He says, "What does Mo stand for?" I said, "Moses." He said, "We don't hire any sheenies in here." You know, for a 16-year-old to have that kind of an experience, it was traumatic. The hell with you and the hell with America, so that when the Zionist idea came along, it was appealing and so on. Right. When the logic of that not being a solution for all of the Jewish people, and the idea then that the only alternative was, if you really wanted to do something about anti-Semitism, was to fight for democracy and so on. And here a perspective was opened up, and the examples given of the Soviet Union of many nationalities living in peace and so on and so forth. This is 34. It had a logic. And so I joined, and one of the first actions we undertook was a peace action in connection with a rally being held in Central Park by the Veterans of Foreign Wars. And we gave out leaflets, and a bunch of these big guys chased us. Here we are then with a bunch of young people, and these ideas begin to be expressed, and pamphlets, books are given to me, which I read avidly, classes, and where subjects which are close to me are being discussed by people my age. There's a social aspect to this that's also appealing. Girls, dancing, I love to dance. Hikes.
Nice girl.
Yeah, absolutely. So that this kind of thing happens. What else about my background?
A totally relevant question. In terms of girls.
Yeah.
Girls who went to socialist organizations, I mean, were they, looser than girls who, basically did they subscribe?
I don't know. No, that was not true. Or I can say only from my experience. Organization that was a national organization. It was not true. I'll tell you one fascinating aspect of this. My family and I had no contact with black people. And here in this organization are some black men, some black women, not a lot. And we go to dances and there are more of them. And for the first time, I held a young black woman in my arms and I danced with her. And I was a damn good dancer. And she was as good, if not better than I was. But the point was, here was a human being, you know. I began to see black people in a way in which I had never seen them before. They were all the same as I am. It's just that their skin is black. And that's a fascinating aspect of this too. What became apparent is that all of them in there from the mere fact that you joined such an organization and it had as part of its program the fight against anti-Semitism, religious bias, chauvinism, and so on and so forth. Sure, we all brought our chauvinisms with us, the way we've been raised, to look at black people, to look at Jews, and so on and so forth. But here were non-Jews, Irish kids, Italian kids, and they were accepting me. And of course, later on, what became apparent is that in their unions, wherever their activities were, they would fight anti-Semitism. Italian kids fighting for the rights of black people. Well, this is a great thing, a wonderful thing.
How were you introduced to the whole idea of Spain? How did you come across?
Well, so 34, I joined the YCL, and I leave. I learned about the working class, which was, a totally new kind of concept, class concept, that there are workers, and that they are treated in a certain way by their employers, and that their rights and so on and so forth, all they have to depend upon is their paycheck, et cetera, et cetera. And that appeals to me. And I'm getting nowhere really in school in terms of the possibility of becoming a dentist. And then I begin to realize this was my parents' dream. I really didn't want to be a dentist. So after about 2.5 years, and this is now about the end of 34, I quit school. I decided I wanted to be a truck driver. That's not an easy thing to do. So I quit school, and my father, who was a laundryman, and he said to me, well, look, you know this laundry work, why don't you go out and try and get a job in the laundry? Maybe you'll get on a truck that way or whatever. And he was right. I went out and got a job in a hand laundry right behind NYU here on Green Street.
Mm-hmm.
And I organized the place into the Laundry Workers Union.
Mm.
We were working a 60-hour week, and the first union contract was for a 54-hour week. That was 5 days at 40 hours and 4 hours on Saturday. And they had a truck, and eventually I got on that truck and did become a truck driver. I was, of course, then this whole new world of trade unionism opened up. The communists at that point were playing a role in the CIO, which was the Congress of Industrial Organizations, which really organized the mass industries in the United States: automobiles, steel, electric, chemical workers, oil workers, et cetera, et cetera. And communists played a very important role in all of this. By no means were they the only ones, and by no means were they the leaders of the overall movement that was, I can't think of his name, that died, that founded the CIO. But we were active in the trade unions and so on, and following all of this. By this time, I am reading the Daily Worker.
Mm-hmm.
I was not a member of the party. I was a member of the Young Communist League, and its program was not that of the Communist Party. Its discipline was not that of the Communist Party. And I began reading about the fight against fascism and what was happening worldwide with regard to fascism, and what is appearing in the radical press you don't see in the New York Times and so on, which I read also, but there was a heck of a lot of other information that began to percolate and come through in terms of what was happening in Europe, the Croix de Feu in France, the British fascists, the movements all over. 34 is when the workers' houses that had been built in Vienna, the government, Dolphus, I think it was at the time, went in with the armed forces and destroyed it practically, because they were being run as a sort of socialist enclave in Vienna. It had been built with workers' money and so on and so forth. And here is this threat of fascism. And fascism in terms of being a Jew, the antennas went up right away. There was no question you were opposed to it. By 1936, I'm part of a movement in the 92nd Street Y for boycotting the Olympics in Germany. I go to the docks to help tear down the flag from the Bremen, and when you see this film, I think it's in the film you're going to see. If not, it's in another film called Red. But Bill Bailey, who was a veteran, was one of those who climbed up on the mast and tore down the Nazi swastika. Mm-hmm. And in retaliation, Hitler then made it the national emblem. It had not been up until that point. But the point is that I hated fascism and so on and so forth. We saw what the fascists had done to the trade union movement everywhere they were. And we saw what had happened in Spain. Here we're reading about this coalition of people that defeat the fascists in an election. And so our sympathies are naturally with the Republic. And we know it's a republic. We know it's no socialist country, no Soviet republic or anything else. It's a democratic republic like the United States. And read about it, and then all of a sudden there's this uprising of the generals. Bad enough, it's the generals and so on and so forth. Immediately thereafter, in comes the Condor Legion, which was the airplanes, the tanks, the specialists, and then 50,000 troops from Mussolini.